going to do on the construction. In fact, more so than probably most people. And the reason I do that is this, is that my ARV is totally contingent on if I can develop and fix up that house to match the value of that ARV. So if I get a bid up front from the contractor, I'm a little lazy, and I say, hey, I want to do the new kitchen, new bath. He's writing, all right, new kitchen, new bath. And his bid comes to me and it says, new kitchen cabinets, granite countertops, backsplash, new tile floors, and change light fixtures. Okay, that's probably okay for some people, but for me, I have to know it's these cabinets, this layout, this countertop, this backsplash, this outlet, this exact flooring. It is this light fixture, and I go on, and we detail it out to, SKU numbers and everything else. And the reason I do that is this: is that if you're just starting to work with, let's say, a contractor, and one of the things that happens is this: just like investors and just like wholesalers, they're a little conservative on the value, and then they overestimate a little bit on the rehab. So what that does is that kills the deal, right? So just think, like for me, I'm looking for deals that are, let's say 9-10% or better net to sales profit, which means that if it sells for $500,000, let's see if there's 50,000, 45 or 50,000 profit net after all expenses in that deal. If there's that net, I'm probably going to do the deal, right? And so if you're looking at transactions and you underestimate the value a little bit, and you've overestimated the rehab, you're killing deals that you would do. And so I'm going to go back to, I said I met some wholesalers, right? And these wholesalers, the one that had been for 9 months, presented me with two opportunities that she had just lost. One of them, she said, I just looked it up, nothing scientific. I used Redfin to pull it up, right? And comped it out, and I'm like, well, I can tell you right now, without even seeing the inside, I'd pay at least 50 more than what you offer. And I said, I'd probably pay 70 or 80 more if I got inside. But if we can't get inside because you've already blown that opportunity, go back and say 50 and tell them you might pay more if we can get inside. And get us inside. And so the problem was she did exactly that. Underestimated value, overestimated the rehab. She's so concerned about not losing money that it's a fear of failure, right? And the reality is this business has an element of risk. If you're not willing to take that risk, you're going to go 9 months dry. And it's the same thing with if you're a real estate agent, if you're, whatever, right? Any type of sales position, if you're unwilling to get the door slammed in your face, the call cussing you out, telling you, why are you killing trees? Because, I've gotten these, right? Sending me a postcard. It's the digital age, you asshole. I've got all that. Oh, this is being recorded. I'm sorry. So, you have to do that. Take the calls.
You're in Culver City area. Is that what you say you're at?
My office in Irvine, and I do basically. I'm pretty active in let's say Southern California and Northern California, and not so much San Francisco, but more Oakland and Piedmont.
The reason I ask is because do you have, for example, San Diego, do you have your the contractor in San Diego? Or does your contractor drive all the way to San Diego?
No. Here's my goal, right? So my goal in doing these partnerships and stuff with people is that I don't want to use my contract let's work with your contractor locally, because if we're going to develop a relationship where we're going to be partners, whether it's for the first deal and then you make a bunch of money and you want to do it yourself, that's okay. That's the trade-off. Because I'm the most expensive money if we're splitting the profits, right? Because you can put up your money and borrow hard money, you borrow from a bank, and that's way cheaper, right? But my trade-off is, listen, I'm going to walk you through what you should be doing so you don't lose money and protect you on the deal. And I'm taking all the risk of that first learning. So rather than the guys who, hey, come to my seminar, I've been on TV and give me 20 grand, I'm going to give you some, not books and tapes now, but what do they do? I don't know. Internet, type in, I don't know what they do, but anyway.
They actually make more money by calling you back and asking you for more money.
Right. There's a whole drip campaign for the seminar guys, right? So here's what I did, right? I was 17 years, that's when I got started. I was 17 years old. I got taught for free because I had no money. So I think, just like how I got, it seems logical that if you want to learn the business, I should be okay to pass on my experience And there's nothing wrong with me profiting from that, but you shouldn't necessarily have to pay me. You should just profit from it, right? And so that's where the revenue share comes in. That's the trade-off. So, what's my train of thought early?
No, that's okay. That's what I was asking.
Yeah. So San Diego, that's right. Okay, so San Diego.
So I was wondering if it's your own deal, do you have relationships with contractors in San Diego? Or everywhere that you deal with?
So if it's local, I have relationships here. I have relationships in Northern California, but like my guys, they're pretty busy, and so you don't want to like overwhelm a contractor, because what happens is contractors. So look at the contracting business, right? Contractors didn't. It's a lot like real estate, actually, right? They didn't. Most of us did not go to college for real estate, right? You sit there, you get a license. It's a way to make some money. Contractors, think about construction, right? A lot of them start off as painters because they need zero skills to paint, or they think they need zero skills to paint, right? And they enter it out of necessity. So they're not businessmen. So what you have to do is help them. And if you sit there, and part of helping them, by the way, isn't always giving them more work, because you can bury them that way. Just like you can bury an investor by lending him too much money, and he overextends himself and he's done, right? So you have to, this is part of the win-win, just like having the ability to tell someone, like, no. No is a fantastic word. But most of the people, what do they want? They want a quick yes and a quick no. They don't really care that you said no. If you said no, explain yourself. Why is it no? That's it. And if you have a valid point, fantastic. If the valid point is, hey, whatever, I don't like that street because, I don't know, whatever, then say that. And that way they don't bring you more deals with that exact scenario. You're helping them. But with contractors, more importantly, what happens is they start to take on more jobs, and they spread. Like they might have a core group of workers. Let's say they have 10 core people. Then they start to bring in new people, and they're lazier. And then all of a sudden, they're instead of taking a job that would normally take 2 months, now takes 3 months. That 3 months, when you have 5 guys on site every day, kills him. Done. He's done. He does that over 2 jobs or 3. He's bleeding, and he's going to start robbing money from you. And so it's like the kiss of death for contract. So you have to be able to watch all of that. And having a detailed scope helps you see exactly where they're at and where they should be. The other thing that it does is it gives you the ability to help them negotiate with their labor. And, and so this is, I'm talking about this, and I know you guys aren't contractors, but the reason I'm talking to you about this a little bit is that if we're in San Diego, my job, and this is what my goal would be, is to help set you up so that you can do flips or more flips by training you on this is what we need to do with the contractor. This is what we need to go through. Because if you don't do all of this up front, what happens is when they're on the job site, you can bid really low and make it seem exactly like what you want to be. You want the house to come in at $30,000? Fantastic. It's a $40,000 job up front, and he's giving you $30,000. The problem is, why doesn't he know it's a $40,000 job? And you know what? He probably does. But he knows that once he's there, he's going to tell you, it's like, hey, listen, we just opened up this wall. It's going to be $1,500 here because this is all termited. I got to reframe the whole thing now. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. So let's see. So we need 8 studs at $3.44. And it's going to take your guy an hour and a half to do that. Why are we at $1,500? It sounds like a $90 thing. Don't waste my time anymore. Right? And you go through and you just label everything. And you tell them up front, listen, I'm going to protect your profit. If there's an issue that's a legitimate issue, we're going to handle it together. But you're not going to use this as the opportunity to then make some money. Because what do you need, right? You need to know up front, these are the actual numbers. Because every time you go over, that's your profit. Does that make sense? So that's part of the win-win. It can't be him take. It's got to be win-win. And I do that. And I follow through with bonuses. I follow through with all that. Because it's, here, I'll give you an example of what happened. I bought a house. Title said it was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. I walked through it, and it was after we closed, and it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And I'm like, I'm never going to hit these comps, right? I'm like, hey, he's like, well, how much do you have? This is actually the guy I've worked with for 21 years. But this was at about probably maybe year 8 of that we had done this. And I closed on this maybe early 2000s, maybe. No, it had been earlier than that. Anyway, he had, let me think here. He walked through and he said, well, this is what I think it's going to be. And I'm like, it was what I thought it was going to be, right? Because I had to reconfigure the whole floor plan, which means you got to redo the electrical, redo the plumbing, because I had to fit an extra bedroom in the same square footage without doing an add-on. And so it means all the walls go away internally, and all new walls go up. And he said, well, here's what I can do. I'm like, listen, here's what I got for this job, or there's no profit in it. I said, we screwed up here. Let's see what can we do. And he said, well, let me talk to the guys. He talked to his workers, and he said, he came back and he goes, we'll bring it in at what you had originally budgeted. And he said, but give us another house to do at the same time. And they're going to work both houses, and they're both going to take about 2 weeks longer. But instead of leaving at like 5 o'clock, they're going to work till 8. And he goes, and they're just going to do this to bail you out here so you can get out of it. So I still made money on that house, and I gave it all to like the contractor and the workers, because the next time that happens, I know that they've got my back, right? And for a worker who did not expect a lump sum of cash to come in at the end of, like when they finished something, being very cool because they like me and they wanted to help me out, to get like that was like, for some of those guys, it was the difference from just struggling all the time to, wow, I just caught up, or I just bought a new car, right? And so it's a great thing to have that win-win relationship and long term. You had a question back there.
Yeah, I was curious about who does your design plans between either you or the contractor, or do you hire an interior designer to do design plans?
So, we had hired one years ago. This is when I was doing all the flips with my former partners before I sold my shares of Anchor. And we had someone who came through, and what they did is they created a design plan for, like bungalows, for Spanish styles, higher end Spanish styles. And we went through and kind of did that. They did is they give us a book. Here's what you should use. Fantastic. We sent it out to our guy and said, find everything that they want for less. Right? So we want the same look, because really a designer, when they give you like what they want you to do, they're trying to create something for their portfolio. It's the same thing with an architect, right? An architect's creating a piece that they can show future clients to close those things, regardless of whether that makes the job more expensive, right? An architect, here's this beautiful house, it's fantastic. Wow, that's a really intricate roof line. That roof just went from $18,000 to $35,000 because it's beautiful, right? It's still going to stop the rain, right? It's its main function of the roof, right? Some aesthetics, but in LA, where where I was doing most of my stuff, most of the value's in the land. But the house, great. It's the value of the land. So if we were providing, stylish shelter, okay, great. Was it as great as the other one? No. Was it the only other house available? Sometimes, right? And that's okay, because, I don't need to build his portfolio, right? We can do other things and make it look great, fantastic, but we can cut costs, and there's certain things that you just cut costs on, right? And so, to answer your question, I don't have designers come in often now. I have a couple of designers that I can call on who will essentially work for very little instead of a full-on designer fee, because they are building their portfolio and they want us to do certain things. And so, but they're also very good about being respectful to our budget, and so they don't go out and say, hey, this is the, put this product in here because it's fantastic. They just say, like, yeah, you don't need that, and they're cognizant of what our buyer is looking for. The other thing that I just do all the time is, and this is kind of where I geek out a little bit, is that I'm always online looking at stuff, because I like to see what other people are selling their houses for. And I think that when you're doing this, a lot of people, they look at comps and they say, hey, this is fantastic, this is great, here's a comp. Okay. Every other buyer who's the actual buyer who's going to spend the money in there won't consider this a comp to that house. Not that they know what a comp is, but they're, if they had to choose, they would choose maybe one of the other comps because, I don't know, it's not on a main street, next door to a liquor store with a bus stop in front, right? Just because it has all the same characteristics doesn't mean it's a comp. So I really take the time to put myself in the buyer's shoes and kind of try to pass that information on so that you act